Hi, recording in my car because I have a moment to myself, and I think it's going to be better than the very first couple of videos that I put out on this channel about my near-death experience. Yeah, so I'm gonna just get into it. I'm so sorry about my car. So if I take too long to describe what led up to my experience, please skip to whatever number pops up, and that will be able to help you dive right into the experience itself, what led up to it. So I experienced the later stages of hypothermia, the last stages of hypothermia, because it done did me in. It was a really cold night, and I know it's one of the coldest nights because school buses weren't starting. It has to be, I don't know what temperature. I'll probably slip it in this video somewhere of what temperature it needs to be for school buses to not start. I think it was a full moon. It doesn't have to be a full moon for a beautiful experience to happen for someone. In my case, it just happened to be a full moon. Nobody wanted to go outside and help the cows, horses, and the chickens, and we had to herd ducks. You know, you have not lived unless you have herded a family of ducks through a blizzard. My dad said, we'll wait till it stops snowing and then we'll go outside. Something inside of me was like, I have to go help these animals because I'd feel really bad if I was the animal. We have had animals on the farm get frostbite, and I've seen what happens with frostbite. So I know to at least cover my hands, but I hated wearing the big puffy jacket that my parents would always dress me in. I felt like a Michelin man. I couldn't move very well. None of those gloves that were insulated fit my hand. Gloves that were insulated also were way too thick for me to be able to slip my finger under a rectangular hay bale under the twine that held it together and drag it across the haymow and drop it down a hole. It was really frustrating all in all. So that's the reasoning why I chose my regular yellow jacket and thin gloves. So I knew I needed to cover my appendages so that I didn't get frostbite, but I didn't realize the dangers of hypothermia. For one, no one ever explained it to me. Literally shivering, my mother would say, tell me when you feel like you have to pee, then we'll go inside. Now as an adult, I understand having to pee because of how cold you are means that you're experiencing hypothermia. My bladder technically saved my life many times. However, there were so many times I would start shivering and I would bring up how cold I was, and my sister would say, it's really good for your body to be cold because it gives you brown fat. I didn't know what that was, but she said it was good for me, so I just stopped caring about shivering. Eventually, the shivering would stop and my body would relax, and I would get lightheaded, and then I would really have to pee. Really having to pee would make me run inside the house. Our big 1800s farmhouse was always cold. If I brought a cup of water to bed with me, my cup of water next to my bed would freeze. The shampoo bottles that were on our bathtub would freeze as well. It was really cold. We had one working fireplace that heated that entire farmhouse. We were trying to get the second one working in the basement. It wasn't until after this experience they fixed the second one in the basement, and they bought 2 more fireplaces, fixed the chimney, so upstairs was warmer, all throughout the house was much warmer. So everything's just really cold. So I learned pretty quickly that shivering wasn't bad. I remember arguing with my sister saying, why don't you just let the shivering stop? Because it feels great after. And she was like, well, that's a terrible idea. I'm not gonna do that. Nobody ever really explained it to me. And if they did explain it to me, I was distracted or not listening, because it's not logged in that memory bank at all. So I had to go collect all of the animals. We had this pig that my sister bought. It drove all the animals crazy. All the cows used to be in their own little herd, but this pig drove the leader cow crazy. The whole herd split up and cows form friend groups. It's super cute. This cow is best friends with this cow, so if I grab this cow and I start leading her, her friend is gonna follow, and her friend is friends with this other cow, so that cow is gonna follow this cow. I have to go find everybody. Usually had between 15 and 30 some cows. I finally have them all together, except maybe a couple. I'm following them home. I feel the urge to urinate. What do they call it at the hospital? They call it void. So I feel the urge to void. I can't. I remember tripping on my own feet. My words are slurring as I'm talking to the cows. So when your hands get cold, they slow down like this. Your brain actually slows down too. Your thought processes get slower. Anyways, so everything's slowing down for my body. My hands are going like this. I notice it, and I keep trying to do this. Like, I remember saying in my head to my hand, move it, hand, get your crap together. I'm losing my balance as I'm walking. I have my hand rested on one of the cows because their slow walking is now faster than my own walking, because my legs are not working the way that they should be working. As we are nearing the barn, I feel super hot. My skin, my whole body just feels like it's overheating, and it feels really good, the cold snow on my skin. So I take off my jacket and I wrap it around my waist the best that I can. With basically, my whole body feels like it's moving in slow motion. My reasoning was lacking. My ability to be frustrated with my body not doing what I wanted to do was very much there. So then we finally make it to the barn, and by this point, my left arm that doesn't really want to move, at this point, it has turned into a noodle. In my mind at the time, I was like, I've got a noodle arm. Like that SpongeBob meme. Okay, so I get to the ladder to get up to the haymow, to get the cow's hay, because that is my goal. And I'm putting my head on the ladder, and I'm like inching my way up this ladder to the top, curl up into a ball, and I'm thinking to myself, I could just lay here forever. But then in the back of my head, a thought jumps up to the front, you gotta get those cows hay. I gotta take care of these animals, nobody else is gonna do it. Inchworm crawl over to a bale of hay, the nearest hay. Can't move this arm, so I pick it up. I don't feel anything in my fingers. I utilize that, shove my finger best I can under the twine, pulling and pulling, and I'm like, this is just so heavy. Slowly, very carefully, make my way down the ladder onto the hay bale. I don't want to walk more than I have to right now. I can't grab the hay, so I start kicking it with my feet. There's a whole barn full of animals that need this hay, and I only have one bale of hay, and I can only kick it with my feet. But I'm literally doing everything that I can with what I have. By this time, my sister and my dad join me in the barn. My sister is just mad at me. Put your jacket on! Like, no, I don't want to put my jacket on. I'm slurring my words. She thought I was just being rude to her, mocking her, which, I mean, yeah, I did do those things. I made the mistake of going into our milk house, which had a space heater. Put my arms near the space heater, and then suddenly I felt sharp pains in my chest. And then I think my dad came into the milk house. I was like, my chest hurts. And my dad was like, okay, go inside and tell your mom that your chest hurts. I left the milk house and I started walking, and I curled up in a ball in the driveway. Dad saw me laying there and was like, get up and go inside. Okay, fine. And so I make it inside the house. I remember having pain through my chin, through my neck, back, and like down my arm. And I'm telling my mom about these symptoms. And she's like, those are heart attack symptoms. You're too young to have a heart attack. I think maybe you pinched a nerve. She tells me to go lay down. Remember, our farmhouse is freezing cold, but I can't just go upstairs. I start inchworming my way up the stairs. Finally, I make it to my bed. And you know that feeling where you feel like you're falling and it jolts you awake? No, this time, I felt like I was falling forwards. I saw a void of blackness that I was falling forwards into, and I felt a slight fear, but then complete and utter peace. I relaxed into it, and I woke up, and I felt so refreshed. I still couldn't feel my body, but I had just fallen asleep not feeling my body, so I just didn't feel my body. I didn't think to look down or figure out if I had a body, because why would I? If I just woke up and everything seems the same except for everything is super colorful, somebody took the saturation filter on life and turned it up a lot. And I see that the full moon has illuminated the entire room with this beautiful, like, vivid blue color. Looking at the sky, there were other colors in the sky, not just blackness and bright white stars. Magentas, kind of like this dress, like kind of these colors, and trying to remember it, but it was just beautiful. The moon had all of the colors, gorgeous. I remember that my mom was cooking food with that thought and that intention of wanting to go figure out what this woman was cooking. I moved very quickly all the way down to the kitchen. Wow, I just unlocked like a superpower. Or maybe everybody has had the ability to move this quickly and just didn't know it. That was the thought that I had. We've just all been so lazy to not use this superpower. So I'm in the kitchen and I'm behind my mom, and I see that she has this like yellowy orange glow around her body. I hear her talking, saying, make food, go watch TV. Make food, go watch TV. But then I noticed that her mouth's not moving. So I'm like, oh, cool. As a child, if something happened that was out of the ordinary, I just went with the flow. And so that's exactly what was happening in this moment. I was just going with the flow of like, oh, cool. I can hear what she's thinking. I'm so sorry. I forgot to mention, I didn't hear what she was thinking until I thought, I wonder what she's thinking about, because she was singing and humming, just, you know, being herself, doing her own thing in the kitchen. With that, well, I want to go check on the animals and see if they need any help in the barn because I feel great. With that thought and intention of wanting to go check on the animals and check on everyone in the barn, I quickly zoomed. It took a few milliseconds to be able to get to the barn, and I moved so quickly that it was like things were moving very fast past me. Almost like light speed, where they hit light speed, or in, I guess, Star Trek, and the stars kind of just like, everything elongates and just kind of passes past you, flies past you, whatever. Words are hard right now, I'm sleepy. I make it to the barn. I did see a shadow person. I saw one near my dad. I have seen many of those before. I have to mention that this farmhouse I grew up in is really haunted. I would say really haunted because we had poltergeist activity. My toys would move, and I'm not the only one that noticed it. My dad noticed it too. Growing up watching Toy Story, my toys are alive. This is amazing. And I remember sitting in my room talking to my toys, saying, if you guys come to life, I won't judge you. It'll be okay. You can come to life, and we can just play. We can play together. You know, because I was lonely. I wanted somebody to play with me. And if my toys can move on their own, why don't they just do it? But that would explain why I would have to have my stuffed animals protecting me as a barrier from this shadow person standing in the corner of my room watching me sleep. It felt almost like very protective, and I didn't know why it was protective over me. But later, I found out an uncle died trying to save 2 children. Anyways, see the shadow person standing near my dad, kind of grumpy with him, and it's not mean to me or anything, but it's just, it doesn't seem the same type of energy when it's near my dad. I should mention that when I get to my dad, I don't know where that thing went, but I'm near my dad, and he's thinking really sad thoughts. Yeah, he's not the best guy. I still don't want him to be sad. Children want to love their parents. I just want to love my dad. Even if he is mean to us, I still want to love this guy. Feeling, I just want you to be happy, and I want you to know that I love you. When I give him a hug, I notice that my arm is glowing white and a little bit of yellow. He turns his head to the right and he says my nickname, which is Gelly. He goes, Gelly? And I'm like, yeah, you know, like I'm standing there waiting for him to give me a direction. And that's pretty normal, you know, for him to, one, not notice that I'm giving him a hug. That's pretty normal. He's often lost in his own head. So I stood there waiting for him to give me a direction. He didn't give me a direction. He just went back to what he was doing. So I tune in again and I listen. And this time I hear he's thinking better thoughts. Ah, good. That's better. My job here is done.
Hi, Editing Kelly here. I just wanted to add that later on I was telling him about my periods, and I asked him if he noticed that I hugged him, and he had said he had felt peace and love wash over him. Then he thought of me, and that's why he had turned his head to say my name.
I go over to my sister because I wanted to see what she was doing, but I didn't care what she was thinking. I did notice that my sister's energy was, do I want to say blue? It was blue energy around her body, growing and getting smaller. When she was around the animals, it was growing. Oh yeah, I did notice the animals too. They kind of had yellow and, excuse me, there's kind of like a yellowy, whitish, bluish, like they had slightly different colors from what I remember, but it was like kind of gold. I didn't really think much of it. I know that they're being taken care of, and that's all that really matters in my head. So from there, I head back outside. I see the snow, thinking in my head, wow, this snow is so beautiful, extra sparkly. What makes the snow sparkle? Basically, I become one with the snow, am in this blackness, but in the blackness, different particles popping in and out, they're all different colors. The thought comes to me, this is what makes up snow. Amazing. But I didn't really care to stay there now that I had my answer to my question. And I pop back out, and I'm myself again. I'm no longer basically one with the snow. I see the tree line, I see the horizon, I see the moon. I remember Wallace and Gromit, and they're eating cheese on the moon. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. No, I don't think that. I think to myself, I wonder what it would be like to live on the moon. And with that thought and that intention, I start moving super fast. Everything starts wrapping around me in almost like a wormhole-like fashion. I'm thinking, this is taking a long time. I stop on the moon. How bright outer space is on Earth, and we look up at the sky and it's all black. In my mind, I think, wow, outer space is so dark. But when I'm there, at least in spirit, it's so bright. It is so filled with light. And I'm in a crater, moving around the crater, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm on the moon. This is so cool. There's not much to do on the moon. I think, what else is there to do? I feel presence. I feel a presence behind me and to my right. And I see 3 humongous beings made of white light. There's a little bit of blue in there, waves of energy, sparkly energy at the same time, and it's flowing up and down their bodies. The energy is coming out their backs, and in my head I'm like, that looks like wings. You know, maybe that's just the way that the energy flows, and it has to flow. Maybe if I looked at myself as a spirit, I might have the same flowing type energy. Or maybe they decided to take that look, because where you put your thoughts is where you put your energy. Me being this kid that has so many thoughts, they know that they need to hold my attention. So had I seen 3 balls of white light as a child, I probably would have not really cared to interact with it. It appeared standing and or sitting, I don't know, but they were humongous. And 2 stayed in the back, and 1 slowly made its way over to me, almost. You know, when you see a cute little animal out in the wild and it looks like it needs help, and that's the kind of energy that it, like, slowly coming closer, like, I have nothing but good intentions for you, I want to help you, here to answer questions, I unconditionally love you, much like how we would love that tiny little animal in the wild, or how we would love our own children, or how we would love a pet, unless you're a sociopath or a psychopath. Or even how you would love yourself, I guess, if you're a sociopath or a psychopath. Unconditionally. You can do no wrong. And anything that you've done wrong is simply because you didn't know any better with the circumstances that you had. So, it's a matter of either I hear what this thing is saying, you know, telepathy, or I am feeling what this thing is feeling, and or passing energy to me, and I'm feeling that. First question that I feel its intentions, and that's a huge thing that people are like, run from the light. That is misinformation. I have to top that with, you can feel the intentions. Knock it off with all that misinformation. That's all fear-based. Is not of love. The only thing that running from the light is going to do to you is make you a shadow person. And shadow people are very parasitic, even if they don't mean to be. My best advice is do your balancing of energy and karma with your life review and come back to visit family if that is something that you choose to do. I will tell you why. I had the option to do that. Anywho, in front of this being, never felt so much love. I feel almost unworthy of feeling so much love just because I'm a traumatized child suddenly experiencing love. Okay, I'll welcome it because this is really nice. It had a very masculine presence. I couldn't tell you if it was a male or not. The sound was interpreted deeper. The feeling was, this is a very logical being. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to call him he. He asked me, what do you think of your life? Everything seemed to be present tense. I go, just start complaining about all the things that a traumatized 10-year-old could possibly ever complain about. And I get to the end of my complaint. I felt its energy. It didn't say this to me, but I felt what he was feeling. And what he was feeling was, I made a gift for you, the gift of life, and you didn't like it. I'm so sorry. It felt sad that I had a bad time. He knew that I was trying to be optimistic, but I felt his sadness and the want for things to be better for me. I didn't really pick up that he wasn't speaking it to me because, like I said, you can feel feelings and you can hear feelings and you can all of that. And I go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You made my life. Don't think it was the worst life after all. There are things for me to be grateful for. And then there was the question that popped up from him saying, what are you grateful for? Oh, well, I'm grateful that, to be neglected on an organic dairy farm was wonderful because I have the animals. I can lay in the sun and fall asleep on a grassy hill and not worry about chemicals. There's a lot that I'm grateful for. I think that that is what he was trying to steer me towards. Focus on the good. One of the biggest lessons, focus on the good. If you want more good things in your life, focus on that good. No need to think about the past and all the problems unless you are doing it so that you can gain emotional distance, but gain wisdom, which is the lesson, and move forwards. So at some point, he could tell I was lying or twisting the truth of some of the things that I was grateful for. And I was thinking in my head, I better not tell him about some of these bad things that I've done. I feel like a pushback from his energy. I didn't realize yet. Energy that is not like-minded push against each other. Kind of like how you have two magnets that are the same and you try to push them together and they just will not touch. It's the opposite in the spiritual realm. Whatever you want to call it, quantum field, different dimension. It's the opposite. So it's the law of attraction. What you are, you attract. You can send energy towards not like-minded, but it's up for them to be able to actually listen to it. Can't physically get closer, but you can send energy by sending thoughts to them, information, but you can't physically get close unless they allow you to. But if you're in a disagreement, it shoves you away from each other energetically. And you can feel this when you're talking with someone in person here on Earth. Think of having an argument with someone, or think of feeling really weird around somebody. You know, it's your energy pushing each other away because you're not like-minded in that moment. At least some people pick up on it. So I feel that push. I could see that I was moving away a little bit. Just don't try to be manipulative. There's no reason. Authenticity is important. You need to remain authentic and true to yourself and tell the truth. I can hear and feel everything right now that you're thinking and feeling. Oh my gosh, he can. Just like I can feel and hear everything that he's thinking and feeling. That realization made me so ashamed of myself. Then I said, I'm unworthy. I'm so sorry. I'm so unworthy to be in your presence right now. I did it to myself. With those thoughts, I felt like I was being pulled back. Darkness was surrounding me. He slowly turns into a prick of light. Like basically at the end of a tunnel, just a prick of light. He's like, where are you going? What are you doing? What's going on? You're being a little dramatic. Come back. And I was like, but I'm unworthy. I shouldn't come back. I can't be around you. I'm so awful. I lied, and isn't that a sin? And he was like, come back. If you feel like you want to do better and you try to do better when you know better, then you can come back. Come back. Yeah, I want to be better. I don't want to be in this darkness that I've put myself because of my self-demeaning thoughts. I found myself being pulled back, and I was allowing myself to go back. He's like, let me show you something. There's this beautiful river, different strands of energy. If you zoomed out and looked at the river, it was all waves, and they're all moving from right to left. Over here, going past me. And I could turn my head, and I could look over here and see the end of it tapering off. And then I could look over here, beginning of it, tapering off. In the energy were little rocks. There was a big boulder on one end and there was a big boulder on the other end. What are the boulders? He was like, that represents the beginning of this life and the end of this life. Oh, I'm gonna die someday. That's right. I'm afraid of death. He was like, your energy is eternal. Your energy is part of my energy. And I looked down to observe my energy. Our energy was glowing white. Wow, that's cool. And he was like, you're part of me. I am part of you. That's cool. Tell me more. He gestured towards this river. You know, I have the understanding. Look, memories. Almost like holograph. I did a video and it was about the Page Master movie. At the very end of the movie, there's a hologram that pops up and it starts showing moments from his experience, basically like that, but all around me. And it was as if I was there again, but this time it was different. I could feel what I felt and what I thought in that moment. Also feel and hear the thoughts of what the other person that I was impacting was feeling, thinking. I could feel it, and I knew what would come of those actions. If there was a ripple effect from me impacting this other person, I got to see that. I even saw my cat. The fear that I gave my cat when I had a power drill, it did not have a nail in it because that was not my intention to hurt my cat. I just wanted to curl its hair. And it moved around in a circle. My sister would put her hair in a thing and she would twist her hair in a circle. Well, this is a long-haired cat and I want to curl its hair. Of course. I tried to do that, and I felt, here's something interesting. Our brain interprets emotional pain the same as physical pain. So when I say that I felt the pain of my cat, emotional pain, felt the cat's pain, I felt tense, fear, helplessness, betrayal. Like, how could you do this to me? I love you. And it makes me want to cry right now. Poor little cat. Cat never died, thank gosh. What ended up happening was I started crying. I let go of the power drill after I realized its skin and hair rolled around the power drill. And I was so scared for the poor little cat. And I was like 3 at the time. My sister runs upstairs, she undoes the power drill, and then she goes and tells on me, and then I get in trouble. Even animals that we impact, we now have energy bound to us by interacting with them. And now you're going to have to experience that in your life review. You are feeling exactly what you put into the world. Basically, the golden rule, treat others the way that you would want to be treated. Life review, balancing out that energy, living through all of those yucky, uncomfortable, and painful, but also beautiful, joyful moments in my life. My dad built a shelf in the kitchen. He takes me, who at the time my mom said I was maybe like 1.5, maybe 1, and he picks me up and he puts me on the shelf. I felt all of the love, and he was so proud of himself for doing something for his family, and he's making me happy, and that made him happy. I could feel my love and my joy, and then it was that bounce back of energy. I was feeling the energy and what it was doing to each of us, making each other happy. Those beautiful moments of love where you share joy or happiness and everything like that. Try to make some more of those, because in your life review, you will definitely thank yourself. After the life review, I have that question again of, what did you learn? And I had to think about all of the things we talked it out. Basically, I learned focus on the good in my life. Be present, because where you put your thoughts is where you put your energy. I was asked the question, do you want to go back? Do I want to go back? What do you mean? He showed me my body. From third person view, seeing my body, I realized, oh, hold on. I'm not in my body? That means I'm dead. Again, it's the reminder, don't fear death. You are an eternal energy. I was given the options. Do you want to return to your body? Stick around here to ask more questions? Do you want to go exploring the spiritual realm? Being a kid and being so attached to my human life, I was like, I really, really want to go back. That is an option. However, you need to have a good reason. You can go back in another life, so you can wait here. You can explore the different dimensions. You can ask a million questions, explore the cosmos. You can, so many different things you can do when you're an eternal being, and you can just go around places. It's great. You can go back to Earth, but people are probably not going to see you because you're a spirit. You can be acquainted with family or people from your past lives. And at that point, I was like, wait, past lives? And me waiting for the perfect moment to have another life? Past lives? And they were like, yeah, what do you want to know? You have access to literally all of the information from these past lives. Who was my dad in my past life? And they were like, he was your best friend. And they went into detail. I was a guy in my past life. A little strange. Had kids. They died. I didn't get to experience family. This was a very similar feeling in this life. I feel the same way that I did in that other life. I feel like haven't gotten the chance to experience unconditional love in a family, and I really want to feel that. They were like, that's a great reason to go back, and a great reason to go back to this body. So love is a great reason to go back to your body. I needed love to return to my body. They weren't mean about it. It's just one of the laws of reality. Just like if you spit in the wind, it's going to come back in your face. They weren't about to put me back in my body for selfish reasons. I couldn't just go back, because I remember I said, well, I want to help take care of my mom. And they were like, well, your mom will be okay. What about the animals? And they're like, well, the animals will be fine. And they showed me those possible futures, and they're like, look at the stream. You see that all of these different streams are possibilities, waiting to be broken down by me making a choice. So it's very much like the double slit experiment. Everything's a wave and a possibility until we make a conscious choice. However, there are still constraints. Everything follows a pattern. Because of that, there are constraints on what you can do within that pattern. There are many different possibilities for our future. They fit within that pattern. I believe that's why my energy was shaped kind of like an eye, an ocular shape, I believe is what they call it. Funny enough, the Big Bang, ocular shaped almost. And I wonder, that ocular shaped river represents my life cycle for this life experience that I chose. So the universe, it goes through life cycles. Anyway, this is all very fascinating, but I really want to go back. Let's get to work. Those two big ones, they started like making things that look like rocks and big boulders. But there was one big boulder that got tossed in the river right near me. That represented me going back to my body, breaking down the waves of possibility into a precise, only one way for that thing to flow. That's so cool. Can I give it a go? And they were like, yeah, of course you can give it a go. Okay, well, how do I know where to throw these? He was like, trust that you know where to throw it and it'll land in the right place. Okay. I would pick it up. I know exactly where this should go. Throw it and it would land. And I guess those are all in the right places because there are plenty of synchronous moments within my life. I remember I had 2 rocks, and in spirit you can manifest things. You can create things by just thinking, I want to have the shape of a human hand. And so then I would have the shape of a human hand. I want to have rocks that represent this in my life. And they'll appear. And they look real. 2 rocks. I want them both to happen at the same time. He was like, well, that's just not possible. You have to choose one before the other. I was like, that really, really sucks. And I remember that moment because it was so frustrating. In that moment, I was like, anything's possible. Look at how powerful I am. We've all got magical powers. And we didn't know that we had these. We didn't know that we are co-creators. So I finally figured out where to throw those, and I tossed them in. There was no, you have to do this or that, other than the logical understanding that, well, you can't come back to your body unless you have a good reason for it. The joy and the love that I felt put that spark back into my body. So there were a lot of lessons, time and everything like that, being that it flows forwards. Everything that we experience is being recorded. We're going to experience it again later. Things all exist within the bounds of its pattern. We choose our parents. And that was another thing, is that I complained about my family, and he was like, you chose that family. In fact, some of your siblings are your children from your past life. One of my children now was also one of my children in another life. Because I remember they were saying the names. They threw my child's name out there, and I didn't know who that was. And I remember thinking, who the heck is that? I haven't even met them yet. Right before going back to my body, I was afraid that I would mess up. So much accountability, ownership. I don't know if I'm willing to take that on and in my human body, and what if I choose wrong? They were like, well, focus on the good things in others, focus on the good things that you are, focus on the present moment as much as you can, notice your intuition. Trust is a huge thing. Everyone is manifesting reality here as we know it with every given moment. They are breaking down different possibilities. If you think of a canvas and everybody's thoughts are paint that they're splattering, dripping, or whatever onto the canvas, and it makes the big picture is reality, web of reality. Because your thoughts are energy and they are being sent out into the quantum field, breaking down possibilities. There's so many different layers of reality, different dimensions, whatever you want to call them. Just all, I don't know if they're next to each other, within each other, but there's so many. With that, I hope it's alright. I hope this is enough stuff that I remember that has to do with time. There are things that I learned that have to do with shadow entities, or shadow people, you can call them that. They're just spirits. Shadow person that my dad saw could choose to be like me, like a lighter color. Everything exists on a spectrum. How you turn up the good within you. Everybody at their core has light. We're all light at our core. Even the worst shadow person has light at their core. It's just very, very dim. As soon as they start thinking about the good, that light becomes bright, and they no longer are as parasitic of an entity. Your energy reflects your thoughts. You become what you think, basically. So if you think mean things, your energy is going to show that you're mean. With shadow entities, they're very much still connected to the human experience. They haven't moved on yet. For example, when my friend was unalived by someone that she was dating.
Hello. So in the several months that it's taken me to finally edit this video and get it uploaded, I've actually lost weight. Hello. And also, I completely missed the point that I was trying to make with that. So I was trying to say my friend and her fiance were shadow people because they were still connected to the human experience he was chasing her around, you know, keep tabs on her. And she was checking on all of her friends and family, and I just happened to be the person that saw her. I then later learned after seeing her that she had been unalived. When I first saw her, I just saw a shadow person who seemed annoyed that I wasn't seeing them right away. I could tell that it was a female.
I think that's about it. I don't want to overshare too much. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for being curious. Bye-bye. Hi. Speaking of my eyes at you. Something else I love about cows is when they are super excited on like a day that they have to stay in the barn the entire time. You let them out the next day to get a drink of water or to go play in the snow. They will run out and they'll kick their back heels up in the air and click them together. It's super cute. Horses will do this too. They're kind of like big dogs almost.